Hi, welcome. We're on our next signature for our album, and it is going to sit right here. So it's going to be on page 2. This is going to make the signature number 3 on the pages, but it's actually signature number 4 overall. So it's going to go right here on the top of page 2. Now that I've got you thoroughly confused. Okay, so this, the yellow bubble, which is out of the patterns pack or your 12 by 12, because some of these are in both. This is going to measure at 8.5 inches across by 8 3/4 in height. So 8.5 across, 8 3/4 in height. I've made a small pocket down here, and we're going to put in a framework up here at the top. And I'm keeping this small so that you can tuck or you can place photos as well as tuck. So this measures at just a hair over 1 3/8, and it's the total width of 8.5 going across. Now, because this is small, I am using only an 1/8 inch tape so you can maximize your pocket storage, because if I was to put in 1/4 inch tape here, you lose an 1/2 inch overall, but then it gets real tight. So you've really lost about 3/8 of an inch on each end, as well as here. So it just really shrinks up. So I'm using small tape to try to minimize that. This is one of the pattern strips. And then I took this off the sticker sheet. Now this hangs up over onto this pattern. So I went to the back side of it, and on the sticky part, I just put in some white cardstock and cut it off so that when this comes in here, in fact, I think I just noticed a problem. I was so focused on these hanging off the edges, but I didn't realize that this one was going to hang off the edge quite a bit. So it would have to come up here like this, and this to me is not acceptable. So I'm just going to cut it off. Now, if you want to use a different element off your sticker sheet so you don't have to do that, by all means do so. But here, at least now on the top of the D, I've got it white cardstock so that it's not sticking to the base page. And this has the seashells, the red and orange and yellow coral, and then the turtles. So you can find this strip in your scraps. It might be on one of the cutout sheets. And I apologize, I can't be more specific than that. And we're just going to drop that right on there. Now on this little guy here, I guess I'm going to put it over here. I've taped here and here, and I don't think that that was my original intention. So what I did was I just taped the wrong edges. So I'm going to move it over here instead of here, and I don't know that it really matters all that much. So that's going to go up here. And I'm leaving open again 2 of the sides so that we can stick a photo in there. And I'm going to come in about 1/4, down about 1/4, and there we go. Where's my pencil? Well, I don't know where it is. I just want to make this pull-out tag real quick. Okay. I always forget them, so I'm doing it now. All right, we're going to have 2 flaps here on the side. So let's get started. Your your right side flap is going to be 5.5 inches. There's my pencil. So this is your right side flap. It's 5.5 inches by your 8 3/4. And you're going to score it at 1/2. So it's your right panel, 5.5 across, 8 3/4 in height, and you're going to have a 1/2 inch score here. And I remembered to round my corners this time. Okay. And then your left panel is going to measure in at 5 5/8 by 8 3/4 with a 1/2 inch score mark. I'm not sure why I have that trimmed the way that I do, but it's not going to make a big difference. All right, so on the inside, I have, out of the patterns and solids, I'm using the I just lost, gosh, my brain is just on on overload, I guess, because starfish, there I go. Goodness sakes, Charlie. So I'm doing starfish on both sides. And then I'm going to do a tuck in the middle of the page using some blue wavy, and this did come out of that 8.5 by 11. And then I cut out some little yellow fishies, and then I took this off the sticker sheet, and that's going to go right there. And then we're going to repeat that over here on the left-hand side. Okay? So there are no magnets on this, so I am just going to start to glue these in. And I see a little pencil mark there. Okay, I just scared myself. All right, so this little striped piece here is 1 1/4 inches in height, and mine trimmed out to be at 5 inches. And I know I've told you this before, but I'll measure from the very edge to just in front of that score line so that this sits in there and cleanly comes to the edge. Now my midpoint is going to be, see, that's 1 1/2, 1 3/8. There we go. So here's my midpoint. And I'm only using really thin tape because, as again, if you use too wide of a tape, you really destroy the ability to tuck. And these are tight enough as they are. Straighten this out just a little bit. I think I have that in there, right? Yep. Is that going to close? Nope, because you know what? I carried it beyond this, so that is not going to work. And I'll show you how I'm going to fix this. So I've got what looks like to be about 1/16 of an edge. So I use this undo remover. You might have Goo Gone, or that's the only other one I can remember. So I'm going to lift this. I don't really want to lose the tape, so let's see if I can keep the tape in there. And now this time I'm going to lay this on the pattern paper in front of the hinge, which is what I should have done in the first place. And then I'm going to lay this straight across. So now my overhang is on the edge, so that will make it very easy for me to snip off. Now, I'm afraid I took most, let's see if the tape, if that's going to hold. I may have to come in here with some additional tape. Let's see if that's going to hold. Oh, there's enough there if I just quit fiddling with it and let it dry. Okay, so I played with this. It's got a solid pattern on the back, a striped hair on the front, and I trimmed the piece to fit this, but now I'm going to need to trim it down a hair more because I took some of it off. Okay, let's just double check our fitting. It looks good. And then I already put my really thin tape on the back of the fish. And I'll center it as best as I can. And I have too much. I need to trim that down just a bit. There we go. And then off the sticker sheet, I have this sticker, and I backed it in white so that we've got, again, some additional color, but I don't want to mess with the back of this and miss, so I am going to put my glue here in the center. And then I will sit this down. And then we've got a nice tuck, top and the bottom. All right, let's move on over here to this side, and we're going to repeat that process. So I'm going to get this on here first. And then I'm going to make sure that I've got things trimmed out the way they should be. So if I'm just in front of that hinge, oh, this one's good. Okay, so my center, I think was 1. Let me look at this way. Yep, okay. And this is the same width as the other one, but it is going to be just a fraction longer because this particular flap, for some reason, I cut it just a fraction bigger. So this is still sitting at 1 1/4, but this one trimmed out at 5 1/8. Okay. All right, and then we're going to put down our blue piece. Oh, a little extra tape hanging there. And I'm going to need to snip that off because when I close it, it's going to close against here. And, or if I can tuck it underneath there. And it will tear the paper or anything that's put there. So let's just tuck it under there. There we go. I may have put the other fishies on upside down. Nope, I did them right. And then again, I took one of the stamps off of the sticker sheet. I mounted it on white cardstock. And then I'm just going to glue here because I have control of this. I don't, if I put it on the back, I don't want to get too high because these are going to hang over the edge. So this is what you should have on the interior. Now to finish the interior, I use the Graphic 45's Tags and Sentiments die. And then I went into my scraps and I found a couple of pieces that I really liked. And so I am putting this on here on the front. And I'm going to tuck it down here. So let me get this. And again, I just simply put this through my die cutting machine with just enough paper to cut just enough to put on here. There's no sense in wasting more paper. You can probably use that someplace else. And then you put tape on this edge. And I'm using the thin tape. If you put the tape on the top edge, then you end up with about 1/4 inch or 1/8 inch where you've got tape sitting up here and you don't want that. So you're going to tape down here on this end. And then we can, and I won't use glue on this simply because glue spreads, and the tape I can control. And then I used this pattern. And again, I put just enough through, and then I did a little bit of trimming on the ends. Now, you have an option. You can put this on here and put a photo in here, or you can keep this together and just tape this over the center as your embellishment, and that's what I'm going to do. And then this is just going to tuck in right there. Okay, now we're going to close these flaps. And then we're going to use this side. The reverse side is the fish in orange. And then we're going to make a belly band here on both sides. Oh, I can see that I have something I need to trim. Ta-da! Okay, I'm going to put some belly bands here. So this piece, I trimmed it in at 8 5/8 in the height. The width doesn't really matter, but I'll give it to you. It's at 4 7/8. What was important is to know the height of this so that I could cut this effectively. So this whole panel, because I want a 1 inch to tuck behind to tape it, this comes in at 9 5/8 of an inch so that you have a 1/2 inch score on each end, and then this is going to lay comfortably over this, get it centered, and then I will glue these down. Okay, so I'm going to start with the top, get it as even as I can, keep this straight. Oh, it's cantering this way. Okay, let's straighten this out a little bit. All right, and then I took the little swimming turtles and I cut that piece to put there, and then I took one of the 8 by 8 cards. I kept the two intact so that they're together, and I mounted the back side of this on some white cardstock so that this can come in here like so. Now, there's no magnet to keep this closed, so it's going to be a great place to journal. I'm going to go ahead and glue. Now, this is the reverse side if you like that better. You know, it's a little, to me it's, okay, I like turtles, but it's very bold. And you've got bold here, so I think I am going to use the reverse side. It's got a softer color palette. Even the images are larger, it's got a softer color palette. forgot to, I gave you the length of this, but I didn't give you the width. 2 inches, so this is 2 inches. And then it was that 9 5/8. And then I just want to tack this in here. And I'm going to stay on the inside of the frame. And then that's going to go right here. Okay, and there's our belly band. Now let's go and repeat that on this side. Same measurements. And just a little hint, you know, when you put these on here, we want this to be nice and snug. So this is going to have a little buckle or a little bow until you get it taped down or glued down on the page, and then it flattens out because it's got the strength of the entire piece that's now securing it down. But to minimize that bow or that buckle, when you scored this, you have a raised edge of the score, and then you have the portion of the score that's depressed, where you pressed in. You want the raised portion of this so that that depressed edge is running underneath, and that helps to minimize it, because when this is raised and you're trying to wrap that over, this is additional height right here that if you were to do this on the reverse side, that you wouldn't be able to do this cleanly. At least that's been my experience. So I just make sure that I'm using the depressed edge of the score line when I fold this over. Oops, and I think I'm going to go ahead and add this now, and then I can add on to it. And then I think I'm going to use this reverse side once again. Now, if you want to use the little swimming turtles, you can do that. But this is, okay. And then I did the same thing. I used one of the 8x8 cards for journaling, matted it. And I'm going to be very careful by staying really on the inside of this so that I don't glue this belly band closed, because these edges are going to hang over it at various points. Okay, there you go. I put this one at a canter. I put this one on straight. Let's just do this at a canter so it doesn't look odd. There we go. All right, now we're going to close these. Our next flaps are going to be top and bottom. So they're going to come up like this. We're going to wrap around. I have moved this around so many blooming times, I don't remember what goes where. We'll work it out. And then this is going to come over the top. And over the top of this, I am going to frame in one of the larger photo frames that came in the tags and frames. And it's going to go here. So essentially, we're going to frame in that turtle. So then a photo can come in here and that would be your focal point. Or you can leave this where you're framing in the turtle. It's entirely up to you. Let's go ahead and let's get the measurements for these two flaps. That one goes on the underside. All right, this is your top flap. Top. It's going to measure at 6 1/4 inches by 8 5/8 across. We want a little extra here on this end so that it will wrap around these two side panels that we just built in. You're going to score this at a 1/2 inch and you're going to score it at 5/8 of an inch. So then when you wrap this over the top, that little extra 1/8 of an inch that we gave ourselves covers both these flaps rather than you seeing this. That just is unfinished to me. So I cut it just a little bit wider than the base page so that we can wrap these. And we want that hinge on the top here. So you're going to make sure that when you're lining this up, that this edge is right on, this edge is right on that 5/8 score line, so that this little gusset that we created right here wraps over and creates a nice little edged hinge right there. And it encompasses all this that we've already built. Now, this will be the bottom. And it's going to measure in at 5 5/8 by the same 8 5/8. You're going to come in and score at a 1/2 and then again at 5/8. And then we're going to wrap this just like we did. Get this all lined up. And once again, this edge is right on that 5/8 score line, except I shifted mine, so let me readjust it. And then when we fold this over, the hinge we created once again will take in the buildup that we have there. Nice and flat. And look at that. You don't have any, look, that's the bottom, upside down. So you don't have any ugly tips hanging out here because we didn't cut it wide enough. Here's where we need to add our magnets. I'm reaching for them. My base, my boom here for my camera is metal, so the stack of magnets sticks to it. It's easier for me just to pull it off than it is to try to pull the whole stack out. Okay, so we're going to mount the magnet here on the top. And then I'm going to take a piece of paper, let it find its mate, and then I'm going to cut some tape. Put it there on the magnet. And then I am going to make sure that these are nice and level on both sides, that I haven't done any damage here, that these are nice and flat, and then I will commit that magnet. And now I'm going to secure it better. All right, so let's work on the inside. Now, I made like 5 of these all at the same time, and I have moved them around so much that I've got to try and remember what my intentions were. All right, so we have this piece, which is your patterns and solids, and I cut the solid side so that it would go down here on the bottom. There's not much you can do with these flaps, so I chose the solid side, and then I took some of the rub-ons and created a theme over here. And then I've got the little fish that I'm going to put up here. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to glue across the top here and his little fin, so that you can come in here and treat this as a tuck. You can still hand journal, you can still put a photo in here. The other side, this side, is going to go under here. All right, so let's go ahead and let's get this glued in. Okay, so I'm just going to take I normally don't like using glue, but I don't want to fuss with thin tape to try to secure this. So this is just going to go right up here in the top, and I'm going to push the glue away, and then I'm going to clean it up. Hold on just a second. I don't want the glue going any further down here, so this will be wet for a little bit, but then it will be fine. Okay, and then you have a tuck. Okay, so while we're here, and I know I'm not done with this, but let's go ahead. We've got the piece cut. Let's mount this. It's going to go here on the outside. And I am going to use tape this time. get that set in there. I have closed my door, the dogs are out. Just a moment. I apologize, you might still hear them, but at least it's not as intense. All right, let's go ahead and close this. And we'll play with the top. So this is what's going to go up here at the top. And I will glue this piece. Now I'm going to come back and add this, but I want to do the inside first. I'm going to turn this up like this so I can get to it a little bit better. And this was the image that I was going to use, was the reverse side of this. This is going to get taped in. Whoops, come on, come on, come up there, come up there. I put that on too high. Okay. Okay, let me see if I can remember what was going where on here. So I think this is the one that was going here. And that's got a terrible, terrible trim on it, so hold on. Let's do this way. I do not understand why sometimes this will trim straight and other times it just doesn't. It's got to be the operator. I know it has to be, so hold on here just a second. Probably should have done this to begin with. I'll put it on the bottom. Okay, so this one, so this is going to go here. And this one will go here. I can't put much bulk in this, but I want you to be able to put some small items. Be mindful of. I'm second guessing myself on this. So let's go ahead and let's work on getting this in. Hold on. I got distracted there. 2 1/4 by 8.5 inches. This will go up here at the top. Then we'll put this starry starfish pattern. Now I made this a little bit deeper because when you're flapping this, I want you to be able to keep whatever you're posting in here from falling out, hopefully. Then we're going to break up that pattern a little bit with some fish. Okay, so now let's go ahead. I'm really apprehensive. I thought I would put this down here for an additional tuck, but I'm apprehensive to do that because of this magnet. If you start putting things in here, you're going to interfere with the magnet. So I think I will simply embellish it. And call it good. Same reason I'm not putting a tuck. Again, if you want to do that, go right ahead, but just keep in mind this magnet sits right here, and you don't want to put bulk on this and then this not close. All right, so now it's time to frame in our turtle. So I'm going to run tape along the bottom and along one of the sides, leaving open an edge and the top so you can slide in a photo. I'm just going to come edge to edge here. Now let's snip out this business here. And I have a little overhang here that I don't want, so I'm going to take care of that as well. All right. Okay, so now you'll be able to come in and place in your photo. When you've got it placed and stationary, you can put a piece of tape or glue, tack down that corner, and it will hold it in. So this is what we have. We've got a nice little pocket here. If you want to put a small photo here or hand journal item, just keep in mind the magnet. And then we've got our belly bands and we've got the internal. Okay, let's turn it over and let's get some glue on that back side, or tape on that back side as I cap off my glue. Time to put it in the album, and it will lay in here like this. Okay, let's turn this. I'm going to take this, this, and this. Oh, I took off the wrong end. Okay, well, I guess I'm going to have to trust myself because I can't remove these if I've got both ends sealed and I took the tape off the wrong end. Oh, big deep breath, Charlie. We're going to go right here to the end and we're going to make sure that we're even top to bottom. Oh, I got lucky. So let's get this burnished. You can never burnish too much. All right. There we go. All right, we will come back. We've only got 2 signatures to go. I'll see you then.